Hey there, my name is Ryan. I really appreciate you clicking on this video. I was a Season 6 Diamond player in League of Legends, and I'm looking to get back there again in Season 16. So I wanted to just kind of make this video to share some of the things that I've learned along the way to help you hopefully navigate solo queue a little bit easier. So if you are somebody who thinks they want to improve, really willing to commit to the process, then this video is definitely for you. So this video is really going to be centered around comms in League of Legends, certain protocols like turning off all chat, especially in solo queue. Do you use pings? Being more aware of kind of how we communicate, how effectively we do it, our body language, or you can say your character body language in League of Legends, conveying your intention to your team without having to explicitly, type or do anything like that. And then at the end, we're going to talk about a little bit of a learning objective, not just for this, but how we can apply learning objectives going forward in the most efficient way possible. Okay, so thing number one is going to be turning off all chat and using party chat instead. So I find party chat to be the best solution to, one, not getting triggered by my team, but still being able to communicate with them effectively. So if you watch or you listen to any advice from higher elo players, higher elo than myself, Masters Plus, usually they will recommend, if you want the climb, don't have chat on. There's really no reason to have it. The reason why I think party chat is the best of both worlds is you're not completely deafening from your team. You'll still see their pings and they will still see your pings, which is the most important thing, is like you can still communicate with them versus obviously if you just go full mute, they won't see anything you do. You won't see anything they do. And I think it's like a best of both worlds because I still want to be able to dictate through pings kind of what's going on in a given match, but I don't want to randomly just get tilted because our AD carry that died twice in lane is already like spamming slurs or FF votes in chat at 5 minutes into the game. So none of that is ever constructive, and really below a master's level, I don't think anybody in the game truly has relevant information that they're going to give you via chat. There's always exceptions to this, but I would say 9 times out of 10, what your team is saying in team chat and all chat is irrelevant, and it's all stuff that could be conveyed through pings to begin with. So the fact that you can still see all communication in terms of pings with your team is an awesome thing. And for me personally, so when I was Season 6 Diamond, I got that account permanently banned. For whatever reason, I'm really good about being a non-frustrated process person with most games. League was just like came into my life at the wrong time. I was a very toxic person, and so cons really just not being able to see your team chat, which again is really only like a high elo issue. You're not going to gain anything from seeing that your support is typing in chat or your team's typing in chat. And again, everything that is relevant information can be just conveyed to you through pings. So there's really no reason to have all chat on. I would highly recommend party chat if you are serious about climbing. So the next thing to do is kind of go over pinging in general. Do you even ping? We're going to do a little bit of a video example, and then we're going to talk about some of the typical mistakes we see, whether it's late pinging or lazy pinging. But this portion is really just going to be about making the most out of your pings. Awesome. So this is going to be a good example of what we're talking about, lazy pings. So this is after you've already established that you ping enough in a game, and then now it's just a matter of, well, are you effective? Is your communication optimal? So in this situation, let's say I'm mid lane and my mid laner goes missing. So an example of what I think a lot of people do, and an example of lazy pinging, would be simply just pinging missing on my lane. So why is this lazy? Why is this not very effective? If you think about your top laner, your bot lane, even your jungler to an extent, they are thinking about so many different things. For bot lane, they're thinking about their 2v2, they're thinking about what cooldowns they have, they're thinking about whether they have flash, ignite, whether they can engage, whether they have wave priority, whether they're going to get ganked, right? They're thinking about all these things. And top laner, similar thing. They're thinking about cooldowns. They're thinking about whether they can kill their lane. It's highly mechanical. They're trying to outplay their opponent. So your random ping on the map is nothing to them. It's just a random noise, right? So a much more effective way to ping, given that your side lanes have an overwhelmed mental stack, is simply to not only ping your lanes missing, but then ping directly on the lane that you think is going to get ganked or roamed on, right? So obviously that is a case-by-case basis. In this game, let's say we have a Katarina mid, right? So more often than not, they're probably going to want to go bot lane, right? So more kills down there, more vulnerable, squishier people down there. Their jungler tends to play down there. So they're going to want to go bot lane. So I would ping missing on my lane, ping Katarina, you can open up the tab, ping Katarina, and then you would ping the danger or the retreat ping directly on the character model of your bot lane. Now it's on their screen, right? Like they're looking at their character model and now suddenly there's a ping directly on top of them and they're going to think for a second, wait, who's pinging me? Am I in danger? Oh, mid's missing. Okay. And suddenly it's going to register that they need to play differently. It's not always going to be the case. There's going to be times where, your bot lane completely ignores you. And that's fine. But more often than not, that's a much better way to convey information. So if you're constantly frustrated about, oh, wow, my bot lane never listens to my pings, but then you're sitting here just pinging mid lane, not actually pinging directly on them, or you're pinging super late, like your laner's already gone for, 8 seconds, and then suddenly you're pinging and Katarina's already bot getting double kill. That's lazy communication, and your team really can't be blamed for that. That's on you, not communicating better in solo queue. So the next kind of example is going to be something that I feel like a lot of people happens to them, and this can be just when you're trying to get your team excited about Dragon, or it could be a situation where you just want a team fight and some of your team wants to push mid and some of your team wants to do Baron, right? So in these situations, let's take that Baron example. You win a team fight mid, your AD carry and support start just pushing mid lane as they always want to. They want the turrets, they want that, but your jungler, maybe your mid laner, maybe your top laner's still alive, maybe your entire team's alive. You want to do Baron. Well, again, same thing as earlier. You would ping on the Baron, ping the Baron, and then you would spam ping directly on the character model of your bot lane in their field of view, like an assist me ping or a back ping or something, just to convey that they're not doing the play that the rest of the team is, rounding behind. And again, 9 times out of 10, this is going to be a lot more effective. There's always going to be that scenario where your team just does not care. I think everybody's run into that AD carry that has just like main character syndrome. They couldn't care less what you're saying to them. But more often than not, you're going to have success with these combo pings of where you're actually putting the pings directly on their screen so that they're more aware of the information getting conveyed. About is going to be body language in League of Legends, which I think is something that's not talked about quite enough. And sometimes it leads to poor body language and poor communication. Sometimes leads to frustration and thinking our teammates are griefing us. So I'd like to start with an example. So recently I played a jungle game. I was Lee Sin. I was 4-0. And my mid laner was 0-2, a Yone one trick versus a Akali one trick. So already a pretty bad matchup for Yone, and he's behind, right? So he's already not doing so great. And I decided, based on the state of the game, top wasn't doing great, bot was even, mid was behind, that they just did grubs. I want to sneak a dragon. And I'm playing Lee Sin, so I can sneak it, I can queue over the wall, and if I need to get out because I get collapsed on because my team's behind, I could easily ward hop over the wall and get out. So that's where my head's at, is I am going to sneak this objective. So I start doing the objective, and the first thing my mid laner does is walk over to help me, which at the time, I thought to myself, he is absolutely griefing because he got one shot by Akali, caught on like our side of the jungle, died, and then they collapsed on me anyway. I got out. But in my head at the time, I was just thinking, wow, this guy is such a griefer. And looking back at it, he wasn't grieving at all. He was just being a good teammate. He had no idea how committal or non-committal I was to this dragon. He had no idea whether I was just sneaking it, whether I was committing, whether I wanted his help, because I just assumed that my team understood that I can get out of here. I can try this. If it doesn't work, it's not that big of a deal. I'm just going to go back to farming and I'm not going to die here. But my teammates don't know that. And that's where assumed communication is really, really toxic. And sometimes it gets misconstrued into thinking your team's griefing you, when in reality, it's your lack of communication and your body language in a game is actually the thing that's griefing. I went back and I watched that replay and I tried to think of like, what could I have done better? And I realized that I just didn't communicate clearly. I just shouldn't even try to do what I did in the first place, because it sends mixed signals to my team. And it may be even a more relevant example would be, let's say you're a top laner and your jungler is hovering topside and you are essentially trying to bait the enemy to like come closer to you, but you want your jungler to engage and your jungler wants you to engage. And instead of just like pinging it or saying it, you're just assuming that they know what they should be doing and they're assuming that you know what you should be doing. And then you end up just like wasting each other's time, or you take so long to actually commit to doing it because now you're both desynced in terms of the play that the enemy jungler shows up because it just took way too long for one of you to pull the trigger. And again, that's something where your body language didn't indicate what you wanted to do, whether you even wanted to go for it. Or another example is your bot lane or your top lane, and your jungler paths near your lane and you go in and they path away, right? Because they were really just kind of walking through the area and they had no intention of coming to your lane. But you assumed they were. And then suddenly you die and you think they're griefing and they probably think you're griefing. And it's just that lack of communication. And so that's why you have to be really careful in League of Legends in terms of how you convey your body language through your character. Because you're probably sending mixed signals to your teammates without even realizing it. And, your takeaway from most games is probably, wow, my teammate is griefing me. They're probably thinking the same thing about you. And, when you look back and you really think about, well, how am I moving? Did I kind of give them mixed signals? Did I not communicate clearly what I wanted to do? The odds are you didn't. And they weren't griefing you. You probably griefed them. And again, it makes more sense to always have the takeaway that you didn't communicate something properly than to just think everybody in solo queue is griefing you. Because at the end of the day, everybody is just trying to do their best most of the time. Not everybody's just out to get you and out to int your games. And the only person you can control is yourself. So if you can control and for a fact you communicated perfectly what you wanted to do, how you wanted to do it, and then on top of that, your teammate still does something wrong, well, then that's where you can wash your hands of it and you have no accountability because you did everything that you could. But until you're in a position where you truly know you've communicated everything properly and you've done everything in your power to make the play or the decision work the way it should, you have to take the accountability. It's the only way to really improve in League of Legends. So the learning objective takeaway for this week is, one, to start just being more aware of how often you even are pinging, and then starting to implement some of these combo pings so you can communicate a little bit clearer with your teammates. That's like a base level, and you're going to do that. You're going to have that be your primary focus for the next 1 to 2 to 3 weeks until you see some actual improvement, and you're hopefully going to see better quality in your games. I would also highly recommend using party chat, trying it out, see how you feel. And if a play goes wrong, go back, watch it, and try to think about it in the lens of, well, what did I communicate up to this point? What did my teammates communicate up to this point? And could I have communicated better? Last but not least, if you want to actually improve in League or you want to improve in anything in life, you have to fall in love with the process. So it's nice to have an idea. Let's say you're silver right now, you want to get to gold or you want to get to platinum. It's very nice to have that as a goal. You don't want the goal to only be to get to platinum. You want the goal to be to improve as a player, to learn how to be better. as a player. And learning how to improve, learning how to take accountability, falling in love with the process of going through the work of reviewing and doing these, learning objectives for 1 to 2 to 3 weeks at a time. Those are the things, those are the building blocks that are going to make you gold, platinum, diamond, right? It's gonna drastically push you up the rank. But if your only goal is to get platinum and you don't really have a process of like, what does that actually entail? You're most likely going to work on too many things, or you're just going to spam games, and that's never useful. And you're also probably going to get disheartened anytime you go into a losing streak of like, oh, I'm even further away from my goal now. So it's nice to have an objective of I'd like to be X rank, but you need to fall in love with, well, how do I improve to get to that rank? And all those little improvement factors are the things that you really want to focus on. So that's like the biggest takeaway, and that's how you do anything in life. You know, if you think about if you're going to lose 20 pounds, right? But you hate dieting, you hate exercise, you're probably not going to reach that goal. Or if you reach that goal, you're probably going to fall off of it pretty quickly, and you're going to just resort back to, your old habits that got you those 20 pounds in the first place. But if you fall in love with the process of working towards it, of dieting, of exercise, well, suddenly it's sustainable and it's something you could do forever. And that's something that I feel like is sometimes missed with League of Legends, people just not taking it seriously in that way. And that would be my challenge to you, is fall in love with the process of League of Legends and improvement. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you're able to take something away from it that's positive, that helps you along your journey through League of Legends and also self-improvement. And feel free to leave some feedback in the comments. I would love to make more of these videos going forward if there's an interest. But if you have topics or things or feedback for me how I can make it better, feel free to let me know. Thanks again for watching.